it?
That's right, yes.
Hi, I'm Dr Sadiq. How can I help you today?
Well, I'm not sure what's the matter with me. I'm feeling very down and very tearful.
I'm sorry to hear that. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Well, I've been married for 20 years and my husband, I found out about 3 months ago that he was cheating on me.
I'm so sorry
and
to hear that.
he's left the house now, so I'm on my own and I'm just finding day-to-day living very, very hard. And I just don't know what to do. I'm really at a really low ebb.
Okay. Jane, can I just ask you a little bit more go into a little bit more detail about what's happened to you? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
So you said you've been feeling low. Has that been since you found out about your husband?
Yes.
Before that, were you okay?
Yes, I was fine. I've never felt depressed or crying all the time. Never been like this before.
Okay, so it's just since you found out about this.
Yeah.
All right, and you said, sorry, has he left the house?
He's left the house now. I'm on my own in the house, and I'm finding it. I go to sleep and then I wake in the early hours and can't go back to sleep again. So I'm feeling very tired, very lethargic. I don't know what to do. I've got no motivation to do things.
And what about, you said your sleep has been quite disturbed.
Yes.
And you're sort of waking up on and off throughout the night.
That's correct.
What
Yes.
about your appetite? How's that?
Oh, not very good. Not very good. And the other thing as well, which is really bad, I'm sort of a small amount of cigarettes in the day. I usually have about 5, but I'm smoking more. I'm feeling really stressed and.
I mean, quite often people do end up smoking more when they are feeling like this. So I think the main thing is to try and help you come out of this, which we will definitely try to do.
One of my friends suggested I might try St John's wort. Help might be helpful.
Was that something that you were interested in?
Well, I know very little about it. So.
Okay. All right. We can have a little chat about that in a second, if that's all right.
Yes,
can I just ask you a few more questions just about what's been going on and yourself, just before we get on to that, if that's all right? So you'd mentioned that you are smoking a little bit more. Sometimes when people do feel low, they turn to things like alcohol. Have you noticed that you're drinking any more than usual?
Not at all. No, just the smoking's increased, which I think is a really bad thing. I don't want to do it, but. Yeah, it's a bit comforting, I suppose.
Yeah, no, and we can address that. Hopefully, that will, once we sort out your mood, that will, we'll be able to decrease the number of cigarettes you're smoking. So you don't drink at all, is that right?
No, I don't drink at all.
And I just have to ask, do you take any other drugs at all?
No.
You're on your own now at home, is that right?
On my own, yes.
Okay. Do you have any children?
Yes, I have 2 children. And my daughter, she's been very good, been around for a few days, but she's got a young child, who I look after. But obviously she's got her own family to consider as well. So.
Yeah. And are you finding that when your day is to look after your grandchild, are you managing to do that okay? Is that something you're still able to do?
With difficulty. I'm finding, as I said, day-to-day living quite hard, really.
Okay.
And I don't know why I'm feeling like. Well, obviously the breakup of my marriage. After 20 years, it's a.
Yeah, no, sure. That's understandable.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. And what about work? Do you work at all?
No, I don't.
You don't work. Okay. All right. And so you've been feeling generally low since this happened, and you said your appetite is gone, your sleep is poor. And what about things like, you said you had no motivation? What about concentration? Like, are you able to watch a film or something to get to the end?
I get no enjoyment from it at all. Normally I'd be okay watching TV, reading, but I just can't bring myself to do things.
Is there anything that you still enjoy doing?
Not really, no. It's the crying and the feeling so low and not wanting to get out of bed, and I'm just at such a low ebb.
I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, you mentioned that you had your daughter and she comes round now and then.
My granddaughter, yes.
Is there anyone else that you've been able to speak to at all?
No, just my one friend who suggested I try these herbal. Are they herbal?
Okay. Do you know, let's have a little chat about the St John's wort then. So do you know anything about that at all?
No, I don't.
All right. So St John's wort is a herbal medication. And unfortunately, it's not something that I can recommend that you take. The reason for that is that there's not very much evidence. So as doctors, all what we advise goes on what evidence is available. And there's not much evidence to show that St John's wort, how effective it is. So that's one of the main reasons. The other reason is that depending on where people get the St John's wort from, the preparations can be slightly different. So we're not sure that you're always getting the same strength every single time.
So it's only available over the counter?
Yes, it's in health food shops, that kind of thing, to buy, but it's not something that we would, as doctors, would be able to prescribe you as such.
I see.
However, there are other options out there, and I mean, obviously, you've been through a very traumatic life event, and I think that that is the most likely reason for you to be feeling so low, which is, it is understandable. You've had a long marriage, and then for this to happen, unfortunately. So one thing that I would recommend is to have some counselling, perhaps. Okay. How do you feel about that?
Well, is it going to take a long time for this to sort of happen? And what if I do have it? Mm-hmm. How, what are the reasons? Will I get better quicker, or?
No, I mean it's a good question, but it's a difficult question to answer. The reason being that everybody responds differently to things. In terms of actually getting the counselling, we have a psychiatric nurse that comes every week, and we can get you booked in with them next week. That's not a problem from that point of view. We can get you seen quickly, but how quickly you would actually respond to the counselling, that's a very much on an individual basis. But I think it's something that would definitely be worth a try if you would be happy to do that.
Very happy, yes.
The other thing was just to ask you, was just about, it's sometimes when people are feeling very low, people can end up hurting themselves or feeling that their life is not worth living. Is that something that...
No, it hasn't crossed my mind, really.
Okay, that's good.
I've got my little granddaughter too.
And that would stop you from doing anything?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good. I just wanted to make sure that was clear before we go on further.
I think that if I'm given help, that I will come through it.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think that will be the case too.
Positive, yeah.
Yeah,
but it's just bringing me down at the moment.
Yeah, no, and I completely understand that. In addition to the counselling, we can offer you a trial of some drug treatment as well. It's not herbal medication, but there are tablets that you can take that just bring up the levels of sort of the happy chemicals, so to speak, in your brain. We can try that for a trial of a few months if that was something you were interested in. But some people prefer just to go for counselling to start.
I'm not very sure about taking. Is that antidepressants?
Antidepressants, yeah.
Well, I'll just try the counselling to start with.
That's absolutely fine, yeah. And I think that's a very reasonable, approach to take, is to try the counselling to start with. And then if we see you back in a couple of weeks, I know you will only have had 2 counselling sessions by that point.
So you have so many each week?
Yeah, so generally they see you, the counsellor sees you on a weekly basis generally. Obviously if they feel that things are getting worse, they can arrange to see you more frequently, or likewise if things are getting better, they can maybe space it out a little bit more. But you will be seeing the counsellor on a weekly basis, but I'd like to see you back in 2 weeks if that's okay. Obviously sooner if things are getting worse. If you feel you're getting really low and you think you're just not coping, by all means, please contact me sooner. And during daytime hours, I mentioned some people feel very low and wanting to harm or hurt themselves. If that happens to you at any time during daytime hours, please contact the surgery. Sometimes that happens out of hours in the middle of the night, and I'm going to give you the number for the crisis team. I hope you don't need to use it, but if you do feel like that, please contact them, and they are there for that reason. Okay.
That sounds very reassuring.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Are you happy with the plan that we've put in place today? Okay.
Yes.
So just to clarify, we'll set you up with the counselling sessions, which will start next week, and then we'll see you back. I'll see you back in 2 weeks myself. All right. Did you have any questions at all?
No, that all sounds very, very clear.
Okay.
Very helpful.
Okay then, Jane. Okay. Take care then.
Thank you very much.
Bye then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.